The stage was set under the bright studio lights, but something in the air felt heavy, almost electric. Everyone expected another confident, charming interview from Can Yaman, the man whose every word could turn into a headline. Yet that night, his presence was different. He wasn't smiling in the same way. His usual fiery gaze carried something unspoken, something darker. The host leaned forward with a polite but loaded question. "Can," she began carefully, "you've built a career based on strength, passion, and perfection. But tell me, is there a truth behind all of it that you've tried to hide?" The room went still. Can didn't answer immediately. His fingers tapped once on the table, a small, nervous gesture that fans rarely ever saw. Then he looked up, his eyes heavy but steady. "There are things," he said quietly, "that I wish people would never find out. Because once they do, nothing will ever be the same again." The audience shifted in their seats. It wasn't the usual kind of answer. This was something else, personal, raw, almost dangerous. Cameras zoomed closer, capturing every flicker in his expression. For a man known for control, there was now a visible crack in his armor. He continued, "Everyone sees the success, the discipline, the energy. But nobody saw the beginning, the real beginning. The nights I couldn't sleep. The decisions I regret. And the moment that changed everything." The host hesitated. "What moment?" Can's lips trembled just slightly before he spoke again. "It was before all of this, before fame, before Europe knew my name. There was a person, a promise, and a mistake. And I thought if I buried it deep enough, it would disappear. But the truth, it never really does." The audience gasped softly. Someone whispered his name. The host tried to smile, but even she seemed shaken. Then came the line that sent chills through everyone listening. "Someone once told me, the truth will always find you, even if you run faster than your own shadow." Tonight, maybe it finally did. For a long second, there was only silence. No music. No laughter. Just that haunting confession hanging in the air. The cameras caught it all, the look in his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the weight of a man finally confronting his past. When the show ended, people didn't just talk about what Can said. They talked about how he looked. Fragile, human, and burdened. Something inside him had cracked open. And though he left the studio without another word, one thing was clear: the dark secret he hinted at was real. And the world wasn't ready for it. The next morning, the internet was on fire. Everywhere you looked, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, even Italian morning shows, one name dominated every headline: Can Yaman. Clips from his interview had gone viral overnight. Millions were replaying the same moment, zooming into his expression, analyzing every pause, every breath. What was he hiding? Who was the person he mentioned? Was it Demet? Theories poured in faster than anyone could count. Within hours, hashtags like #CanYamanSecret and #DarkTruth were trending worldwide. But Can? He disappeared. No posts. No appearances. No statements. His team declined every interview request. That silence only made the mystery louder. Then, on the third day, a picture began circulating. Grainy, old, but unmistakably him. Standing in a narrow alleyway in Istanbul, wearing a leather jacket, eyes shadowed by pain. Beside him, blurred but clearly feminine, a woman. The internet zoomed, enhanced, speculated. "It's Demet Özdemir," some wrote. Others swore it was someone else. Journalists dug deeper. One Turkish magazine published a bold headline: "The past Can tried to hide, finally comes to light." Inside, they claimed the photo was taken before his fame, during a period he'd never spoken about. One source described it as the year everything changed for him. Fans connected the dots. His words on the show, "There was a person, a promise, and a mistake," suddenly took on a painful meaning. Was that woman the one he couldn't forget? The one tied to his dark secret? Comments exploded. "You can see it in his eyes, he loved her." He still feels guilty. Whatever happened, he's never recovered. Across social media, people weren't just gossiping anymore, they were feeling something deeper. It wasn't about scandal, it was about heartbreak. And then, that night, something unexpected happened. A post appeared on Can's old fan forum, from an anonymous account that claimed to know him personally. The message was chillingly simple: the truth isn't about who he loved. It's about what he lost trying to protect her. No one knew if it was real. But the world suddenly understood, this wasn't a typical celebrity secret. Whatever Can had buried, it had cost him something far greater than fame. That night, fans refreshed their screens endlessly, waiting for Can to say something. Anything. Then, suddenly, he did. A single Instagram story appeared, white text on a black background. You can't escape the past, especially when it's the only thing that ever felt real. No explanation. No context. But that one sentence was enough to send the internet into chaos again. Within minutes, it became headline news. Can Yaman's cryptic message reignites speculation, read one article. Others claimed it was directed at Demet. Some said it was a message of regret, others said revenge. Meanwhile, Demet Özdemir, calm as ever, remained silent. Her last post was a black and white photo of her by the sea, looking away from the camera. The caption simply read, "Some stories don't need words." Fans were convinced, they were speaking to each other through silence. But then came the twist that no one expected. A well-known journalist released a late-night podcast, claiming to have exclusive information about Can's dark truth. She spoke carefully, her tone grave. There was a time in his life when Can had to choose between the person he loved and the career he had worked for his entire life. It wasn't just about fame or image, it was about survival in this industry. He made a choice that broke him. And he's been living with that choice ever since. She didn't say a name, but the implication was clear. According to her sources, Can had once been in a secret relationship with someone the public would never expect, someone from a world that didn't approve of his ambitions. When that relationship came under threat, he was forced to walk away, not because he wanted to, but because he was made to. As the podcast spread, fans began piecing the story together. Old photos resurfaced. Interviews were rewatched. People found subtle connections, hidden words, even matching bracelets that Can and Demet wore during her Kensi cuss. It was as if the puzzle was finally assembling itself after years of silence. And through it all, Can said nothing more. But his silence had become louder than any confession. For the first time, the world began to see not just a celebrity, but a man torn between love and destiny. Weeks passed, but the echo of that interview refused to fade. Every magazine cover, every talk show, every entertainment portal still revolved around one question: what exactly was Can Yaman hiding? Finally, after almost a month of silence, Can appeared again, this time at a charity event in Rome. Cameras flashed wildly as he stepped out of the car, wearing a black suit, hair pulled back, his expression unreadable. Yet beneath that calm surface, there was something changed about him. Something quieter, more human. Reporters surrounded him instantly. Can, is it true you're hiding a past relationship? Can, do you regret what you said on TV? Can, who was the woman in the photograph? He didn't answer. Not a single word. Just that same subtle smile, polite but heavy with emotion. But later that night, when the event was over and the reporters had gone, one journalist who had known him for years managed to catch him alone for a short, private talk. She asked softly, "Can, people are worried about you. They say you've changed." He looked down for a moment before replying, "You change when you realize what you lost can never be replaced." She hesitated. "Are you talking about love?" He gave a small smile, the kind that hides 1,000 stories. "I'm talking about choices," he said. "Sometimes you make one decision, and it defines the rest of your life. You can build success, travel the world, but a part of you stays where you left your truth." There was silence between them. Then he added, more quietly, people think my darkest secret is about someone else. But the truth is, it's about me. About what I became after I lost her. The next morning, the journalist published only one quote from that conversation, and it went viral instantly. You can bury the pain, but not the memories. They're the only thing that keeps you honest. It spread across the internet like wildfire. Fans everywhere began posting tributes, edits, emotional messages. They wrote things like, "He's finally showing his real side. That's not an actor, that's a man who's been through hell. Maybe fame cost him more than we'll ever understand." Demet, still silent, posted a single white heart emoji that same day. No caption. No tags. But everyone knew what it meant. For those who had followed them from the beginning, it felt like a quiet acknowledgement, a message from one heart to another, through screens, through time, through everything that had come between them. And suddenly, the story wasn't about scandal anymore. It was about redemption. About two souls who had once found light in each other, and lost it trying to protect it. The night of the storm, Rome was drenched in rain. Reporters had gathered outside the small theater where Can was scheduled to appear for a late-night interview, a quieter, more intimate format. The world was still waiting for closure. Inside, the lights dimmed. The interviewer, known for her gentle approach, greeted him with a soft smile. "Can," she began, "you've been silent for weeks. People say you're different now, calmer, but also sadder. What changed?" Can took a long breath, his eyes reflecting the dim studio glow. "When you carry a secret for too long," he said, "it stops being a secret. It becomes a wound. You start to live around it. You build walls, make excuses, call it discipline, call it strength, but it's just pain wearing a suit." The interviewer leaned in. "Are you talking about love?" He paused for a long time. "I'm talking about truth," he said finally. And yes, love was part of that truth. The room fell silent again, the kind of silence that only comes when someone is about to say something they've been holding in for years. "Years ago," he continued, "I made a promise to someone. A promise that I'd never let my world destroy hers. So when things got complicated, when cameras and contracts and power got involved, I walked away. I thought I was protecting her. But I was only protecting my fear." His voice broke slightly, but he didn't stop. "You can't erase real love. You can cover it with fame, distract yourself with work, pretend you've moved on, but it stays. It watches you succeed, it watches you smile, it watches you lie to yourself every day. And then one day, you realize, the truth you were hiding was never dark. It was just love, misunderstood, unfinished, unspoken." The interviewer's eyes glistened. "And if she's watching this tonight?" Can looked directly into the camera for the first time that evening. The room seemed to hold its breath. "Then I hope she knows," he said softly, "I never forgot. Not a single day. And if I could go back, I wouldn't choose fame. I'd choose the moment before I lost her." There was nothing more to say. The interview ended quietly, without applause, without music. But the next morning, that clip went viral, not because of scandal, not because of gossip, but because people felt it. The world saw a man stripped of image and ego, speaking with the kind of honesty that rarely survives fame. Fans wrote under the video, "He's finally free." It wasn't a dark secret, it was a buried heart. Sometimes the truth is love that never got its ending. And somewhere, far from the noise of the world, Demet Özdemir posted a single line on her story, "Some promises never die." It was all the confirmation anyone needed. After years of silence, mystery, and heartache, the dark truth was no longer dark at all. It was simply human. A love that refused to disappear, even when everything else did.